Hi everyone, welcome to week 3 in the course for Micro 201. Um, Pretty much this week is going to be a much lighter week. I know that last week had a significant amount of work in it, and I applaud you guys for getting through it. Um, and this week is really just an extension of supply and demand. What you're going to start to notice is that every week at this point we'll layer on concepts onto the previous week. And so this week is about price controls and taxes. And so what we're really doing here is we are manipulating the basics of supply and demand. So if you fell behind last week because it was a little bit of a heavier week, make sure that you feel pretty confident with supply and demand before you move on to this week. Because now you really do have to understand the fundamentals of supply and demand in order to begin to manipulate it a little bit with price controls and taxes for this module. I do want to show you that if you want to make sure that you are feel comfortable with supply and demand, because it is such a fundamental thing. If you go into content, and this again, I'm going to highlight this student study materials folder has great review sheets for both the basic economics, which occurred in module 1, and supply and demand, which occurred in module 2. It has these other ones also, but we are not there yet in the course, obviously. So let's take a look at what we're gonna do this week. As normal, we have a soft chalk. This one is significantly shorter than the other ones. You've got some videos and some readings, and you can see that we're looking at the same supply and demand graph, but now we are looking at when other things occur that we haven't talked about before. If we just take a look through the pages a little bit. We've got a lecture from me about a very specific case study that should help illustrate some examples. And then this is really important. This is what we're going to be discussing this week is a per unit tax, when a tax is instituted on the producer based on the number of units that they produce. So if you're taxing a candy company, it's per piece of candy or per bar of candy, not just a tax based on their sales or something like that. And so this is nice because it gives you a chance to practice it yourself, and then you can try to answer these questions. If you notice, I'm stressing this because a question like this will probably show up on your midterm and your final, so you should definitely understand that concept. So there's a couple more questions, and then if we drop down below the soft chalk, we have a discussion board this week. It is about the institution of a price floor in the agricultural sector. This started during the Great Depression to keep farmers basically alive and producing, which was very important at the time, but it has ballooned to billions of dollars every year paid out to farmers. And so you're going to discuss whether that's a good use of our money and a good use of supply and demand. And then we have an application problem, which is one problem that you're going to print out, answer, and scan back in. And then I think you'll be pleased to see that there's only one Newton activity this week. You can see that there's just one. So that should be pretty quick. So again, a much lighter week overall, but I really want to stress a couple of things. It is very easy for me to work with you, offline through email or through text. So please keep asking me questions if you get stuck. If you're unsure about the directions on an assignment, that research assignment in the last module could be done a bunch of different ways. So please ask me questions. And in addition, if you feel like you need some extra supply and demand, practice problems or anything to, you know, to get you to where you need to be, just ask, and I can send that stuff offline over email outside of the course. So that's what you have to look forward to this week. It should be a pretty light week, so this would be a great week to head to the library and pick up that outside reading book. Don't forget about that, and just set aside some time to read a couple chapters. And I think you'll really enjoy all the choices that I gave you, to the point where it should be enjoyable to finish it up later. All right, have a great week.